What's going on, guys? Jath here, and this is a new kind of video, and I was really inspired to do it because I love different board graphics, and it's that time of year where we are getting to see the 2026 models for different companies. So I just wanted to go through some different ones with you here. I'm looking at the CAPITA catalog for 2026, and I'm just going to go through the graphics, talk about the boards a bit, maybe get a little hyped. I'm just a big fan of CAPITA and what they do for the sport, and as everyone knows, they have the coolest graphics in the game. Alright, so how I'm going to do this is just scroll through these boards, read the descriptions, kind of check them out, look at the graphics, and react to them. And then at the end, I'm going to make a tier list of which graphics I like the best. Looks like we're starting with a women's board, which is the Birds of a Feather, which they had a sweet graphic for this last year. I was taking a peek at them. I really like how they're keeping up with the avian theme. Looks like it's just a mid-flex true twin, and it's going to be kind of an all-mountain board. I like the graphic a lot. Alright, now we got the CAPITA Paradise, which is another women's snowboard. This graphic basically looks like the Paradise graphic from last year, so it's not super different. Maybe the top sheet, and they have the mushroom theme. But the base graphic here is really quite similar. Next we got the Space Metal Fantasy, which I really like this board. If I could convince my fiance to get any board, it would probably be this one. I love that it's a really flexible true twin board. Take it through the park, take it on the mountain, do whatever you want with it, but that extra flex sure is fun. It's a sweet graphic, but looks a little bit more cyberpunky and not as playful, but you know, the flex is still there. It's going to be a good park board. It's going to be pretty sick. Next is the Equalizer. I don't know if they had an Equalizer last year. Let me look it up and confirm, but I think this is a new board. Okay, now that I see this graphic, it's seeming a lot more familiar to me. I do like this graphic a lot. This is sick, and obviously it's a collab with Jathskins, so it's a pretty sick board, kind of an all-mountain sort of thing, free ride. I really like this base graphic here with it's kind of like a tie-dye lava lampy, just a clean white top sheet, and you got some nice pastel colors on there, so that's pretty sick. I like that one a lot. Let's see what we got next. Megadeth. I don't feel like I remember seeing a Megadeth last year. I could be wrong. Oh, maybe. I think it was white and it kind of had like an orca vibe to it. Let me take a peek. Okay, yeah, this is the board I was thinking of from this last year. Pretty sick board. A little bit more stiff on the flex. Not going to be super playful, but I kind of like the clean vibe, I guess, for the design. Just black and white, but I'm more of a fan of a flashier graphic, so that one's kind of boring. We'll come down here now to the Mega Merc. I believe the Mega Merc was supposed to be kind of inspired by the Mercury series, so it's going to be a little more stiff for sure. Kind of a, looks like it says you can use it for all mountain. I would probably just use it if I wanted to go super fast, but I don't like having a stiff board all mountain. It just kind of seems like it's not really all mountain at that point. Some people like the stiffer boards. They don't want to butter, they don't want to trick, they just want to go fast anywhere on the mountain, so I respect that. Graphics pretty sick. I like the lime green on the bottom, the cool CAPITA logo, and you kind of got it. It looks like it's almost shimmering or like a glitch sort of on the top sheet, which is pretty sick. Next, we got the Super DOA. That's pretty boring. I don't like that graphic at all. But as everyone knows, Super DOA is basically just a little bit more stiff version of the DOA and a little more aggressive. So it's a classic. People love the DOA. Super DOA, like I said, is just a little more beefy version of it. Alright folks, now we're taking a look at the Aeronaut. It's a cool enough design. Looks like every step up in the size, you get a different sort of animal or symbol or whatever these are, and a little bit different of a color. But the bottom is always going to be this roostery sort of weird painting thing. It's a cool enough board. Coming down here to the stats, we see it's a little more geared towards all mountain riding or maybe more aggressive park riding. But if you want to jib around and have flex, this is not the board to do it on. Next we have the DOA, a classic. Oh, this is not as good as this year's DOA. Let me pull that up. That thing was pretty dope. Yeah, so this one's a lot cooler. I like how you got the red, the blue. It's kind of like a full board design. And then at the back here, you got the fire. Super sick. This one's just kind of boring. I don't know what that is. Tiger print, some sort of a washi. And then you got this sword mascot guy. Kind of lame, but DOA, like this description says, the icon, one of the most famous snowboards of all time. If you've ever asked for snowboarding advice on Reddit, I'm sure you've heard CAPITA DOA more times than you can count. A true all-mountain board, I would say. All right, here's where we're starting to get to my bread and butter, the more park boards. Outer Space Living. Oh, I'm excited to see this graphic. All right. Okay, it's not insane. I was really expecting something crazy on this. I do like the design of the top sheet here with you got the chick and the astronaut sort of thing, and got the red and the orange and black. That's a cool color combination. But I feel like what really gets me on the CAPITA boards is the way they make the bases. This one's kind of boring. I don't know if that's like a brain right there. It just kind of looks weirdly geometric and the colors don't pop. I think they could have done a little cooler with this, but not every board can be sick. So we got the middle of the road flex, kind of can use this thing anywhere. I was a pretty big fan of last year's graphic for this. Pull that up real quick. Man, I'm a huge fan of this graphic from the 2025 Outer Space Living. It's so sick. I like the nebula, the colors. It's just so vibrant, so creative. This one's pretty buns compared to the 2025, but whatever. Not every board can be a winner. But with the Outer Space Living, you got the middle of the road flex. You're going to have a slightly setback stance, so it's a directional twin. Pretty cool board. Get you anywhere you want to go on the mountain. Now, this is the one I'm pumped for, the Indoor Survival. I tried my butt off to order the Indoor Survival this year, and I couldn't find it in stock. Maybe it's just because I waited till this spring to try to order it. But, dude, look at this graphic. This is the best graphic I've ever seen. And I actually ordered one, and they emailed me, like, a few days later and said, sorry, we accidentally sold this right before you ordered it, but our inventory didn't update. And I was bummed because this board is like $579 and I got it for like $360 on sale, and I was so excited about it. Oh, I don't want to relive that again. But let's see what this graphic looks like, because this might be a contender for a new board. I might have to ditch that Pathfinder for this one. Please. Okay, it's not a sick graphic. I was thinking it was going to be insane. I like the eye though. Colors are cool. Wide's got that slightly gray stonish color instead of the white. It's a cool graphic. But do I have regrets picking the Pathfinder from this year instead of this? Not at all. I was expecting something a little crazier. I do like it though. It's a really nice, simple, clean graphic. If I saw somebody rocking this, I'd definitely do a double take and compliment them on their board. It's a pretty cool graphic. Not as sick as last year's, dude. Nothing's going to beat this. This is the best graphic I've seen. But you know, with the Indoor Survival, it's just a sick park board. Down here to the stats, we have a slightly lower than middle flex, so it's going to be a nice little park board. You can ride it probably wherever you want, but okay graphic. Maybe if you can find some bindings that complement one of these colors, like an orange, like that fire and the pupil, that would be a pretty sick setup. Next, we got the Ultra Fear. Let's see what we got here. Okay, this is pretty sick. This is pretty dope. I like how we got all these different colors complementing each other. And to differentiate between the wide and the regular, we got the black and the white as the main color, and then we have the same graphic laid over top. Super sick. I like this one a lot. And not to go back to old friends here, but this writing on it almost reminds me of this same writing here. That might actually be the same. I think that's the same. Okay, yeah, that's definitely very close to the same. I like how they wrote the logo out for this board. So this board's got a bit of a bias in my book. All right, going down to the stats here. The Ultra Fear, just a little bit above a middle of the road flex. A more of an aggressive freestyle board. So pretty sick, true twin. Probably going to see a lot of people rocking this on the bigger terrain parks. But up next, we got my boy. I ordered this board. This is the Pathfinder I got from this current year. I haven't got it in the mail yet, but it's on its way. Let's see what we got. Am I going to regret my graphic and wish I got this one? We shall see. Ew. Actually, I kind of like purple. If you guys been watching my videos, you know I got that purple ride board. I kind of like it. I kind of like the bottom. I don't know about the top. Definitely not the wide version. That's whack. But the regular version, I do like how it has the white top sheet and this purple bottom on it. I don't like that they don't have the CAPITA logo on the bottom of it. I think that would make it a lot cooler if they wrote it like in this white CAPITA with the purple in the background with this fingerprint design. But what else can I say? The Pathfinder, you have a super flexible, playful, true twin freestyle board. You can rip that thing through the park. You can jib on that thing. I'm pretty hyped to get this one and use it for this next year. I love that 4 out of 10 flex. That's going to be super fun to play around with. Now we got the black snowboard of death. Not a big fan of the graphic. Like I was saying with the Pathfinder, I want to have CAPITA on the bottom. That's like one of the coolest parts is when they can write it out like that. They just have such a sick logo. And it's just nice to rep the brand. But when you're riding this, it's like, all right, what board am I even riding? This looks like some like Walmart $100 board type. Yeah, I don't like these stats at all. If you're like 45 and have no desire to freestyle on your board at all, this might be perfect for you. You're definitely not going to want to take this thing into any parky, freestyle-y terrain. You're basically just going to be riding straight down groomers all day, which if that's your thing, that's completely fine, and you might love this board, but that's not my cup of tea, and this graphic's pretty buns, so I'm going to call that one a bit of an L. Go down to the Kazu Kobudo Pro. Alright, I kind of like this graphic. I like how it's got the birdie on there. Once again, no CAPITA on the bottom, but that's starting to become a theme with these boards, so I'm just going to start anticipating that instead of complaining about it. Bottom's pretty cool. Chicken claw or whatever that is, a crow, pair of crows. Let's see what the stats are on this bad boy. Mid-high flex here, so it's not going to be super parky, but if you want to hit some big, probably 25-foot, 30-foot jumps, I'm sure this board will do you great. Next, we got the Mercury. Last year, we had it in that purple color, which was super sick. This year, ooh, they did the Mercury so good this year. Look at this. Lime green. It's almost like a purplish, blue, black, gray. I don't even know. That's so sick. This is the first board that's got me feeling frisky so far in the whole lineup. This thing is sick. It's kind of a stiffer flex as the Mercury is known for. A little bit of a setback stance, and it's going to just rip around the mountain. It's not going to be buttery, but it is sure going to be stable, and it's going to look great while it's doing it. Jeez, oh Pete's, this is a sick graphic. What do we got next, fellas? We got the Navigator. I don't remember hearing about the Navigator last year, but it looks like it's a women's board. Kind of a directional, maybe just cruising down the hill sort of thing, staying out of the park. Most definitely, yes. Powder board, actually. I should have realized that with the bigger nose. Graphics pretty trash. Kind of looks like some 90s sort of like weird spilled paint type vibe. I don't like that at all. This is an L graphic for sure. Alright, now we got the powder gliders. I live in the Midwest, so nobody is purchasing these near me, so I don't really care that much about them, so I'm going to skip through it. Graphics are pretty trash. Powder Racer, could care less. That's an okay graphic on the Powder Twin, but we don't have powder, so we don't talk about powder here. Alright, we got the Spring Break Resort Twin here. I don't like this graphic at all, just looking at it to start, because once again, my biggest gripe, what company is the board from? You have no idea. I don't even see CAPITA on this. It's probably hidden somewhere like on the computer thing or whatever, but yeah, not a big fan. Can't even tell what brand it is. I'm sure it's probably a fun board though. Looking at the stats, it's going to be a mid flex, true twin, kind of like a all mountain park board, so you know, it's whatever. Alright, moving on. Spring Break Stairmaster. That's kind of a lame name. Graphics kind of goofy too. Once again, I don't see CAPITA, so I am not enthused. So looking at the stats here, it's going to be a board geared towards jumping with a little bit higher of a flex, but still a more slim park type shape. Graphics in L. The board's probably fine. Now we're coming down the Slush Slashers. Another Spring Break board. I actually do kind of like this design a bit with the pink and blue. Reminds me of cotton candy. Ooh, and if you look at these like side cuts here, you can see the pink is up there on the edges. That's going to be super cool to see. All right, guys, we're going to do this in the same order we reviewed it. Birds of Feather. I like this board. The graphics pretty cool. Not super colorful, but not every board needs to be super vivid. I'm going to throw this thing in B tier. I'm a fan. Next, we got the Paradise, another woman's board. Super similar to the graphic on the bottom as this year's, so not anything incredibly exciting. I'm going to give this, I think I'll give it C tier. It's cool, but it's not cool enough. Alright, now we got the Space Metal Fantasy. Big fan of this. I like the graphic. Super cool. Kind of like a Disney sort of vibe here on the bottom. So I'm going to throw this thing in, I'm going to give it A tier. This is a nice graphic. Alright, now we got another women's board, the Just Kimura collaboration with the equalizer. I absolutely love this board. If I was a chick, I would definitely be copping this bad boy. This thing is going to deserve our first Shiwan white tier. Alright, moving into men's boards, we're starting with the Megadeth. This is just the most boring graphic I've ever probably seen. I'm going to give this thing, I don't know if it's trash, it's just boring, so I'm going to throw it in C tier. Alright, next we got the Mega Merc. It's a cool enough of a design. I definitely would say A tier. I like the lime green, kind of how it complements on the side cuts and the bottom here. Design up top, I don't know if these are like mountains or waves, but some cool topographical features. This thing's going to slide right below the Space Metal Fantasy in A tier. Alright, next we have the Super DOA. This thing has put me to sleep boring. I don't like this graphic at all. I think they could have took a little more time on the bottom. Not every board has to be super colorful. I know that's my preference, but if they just took some more time on the bottom, let's see, like a blue color, and maybe you just added like some cool like streaks or anything. I don't know, anything that complement what's going on up here would be a good idea. But I digress. It's the Super DOA. It's not exactly supposed to be the most vibrant board, I'm guessing. So I'm going to say that we throw this guy in trash tier because this thing sucks. Alright, next we got the Aeronaut. Not a huge fan of the top of this board, but the bottom's pretty cool. Maybe if the top, the whole thing was a white color and they just kept the animals here in like the black, that would look really cool. But you start doing like the yellow, orange, turquoise or whatever this is, and it just makes the board kind of not blend well with the other side of it. But it's whatever. It's an okay board. I would probably give this thing a B tier. And that's just because of the graphic on the bottom. Definitely not the top. Alright, here we go. DOA. The Buzz Lightyear sort of guy on there. Or Daft Punk or whatever it is. Bottom super boring compared to this year's DOA. I'm already just going to throw this thing into B tier because they could have done it a lot more justice considering that it is literally the CAPITA DOA. Alright, next we got the Outer Space Living. It's just not what I thought it was going to be. I was expecting something more cosmic and like nebulaic, if that's even a word. It's cool on the front. It's almost got like a Star Wars type feel with the orange, black, and white. But then the bottom is just where it takes a big deuce, and it's just not very cool. So I'm going to give this thing a B tier reluctantly. Super cool board, and I love the concept of a nice, colorful park board, but this is not that board this year. And next we got the Indoor Survival. Nothing will ever be as cool as this year's Indoor Survival graphic, but this one, it does a great job of trying to follow it up while being different. I like that it has the vibrant colors up top. Like I was saying earlier, you can throw on maybe some orange or some of these teal colored bindings, and that would look super sick on this design. Bottom, you're repping CAPITA. You got some cool, weird, morbid hands chilling out, so it's got that creep factor with the eye and the hands. It's a cool enough of a graphic. I'm gonna throw this thing in A tier for sure. Alright, and now we got the CAPITA Ultra Fear. Wow, this graphic is sick. I don't know if I gave it enough props just a little bit ago when I reviewed it, but now that I'm getting a second look, this thing is insane. You got the chick on here, she's super scared, and she's on the front too. You got these blues, oranges, reds, greens. Super cool. I think if you threw some red bindings on here, this thing would look sick. So I'm going to give this thing an S Shiwan white tier. This thing is dope. If I ever see this board, I'm going to be blushing. Up next, we got that CAPITA Pathfinder. And boy, oh boy, am I bummed that they did not put CAPITA on the bottom of this thing. If you put CAPITA on the bottom of this board would easily be my favorite in the entire lineup. It would be so sick. But instead, you got this thing reminiscent of a Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga puzzle. I don't know what this is, but it's boring, and I'm not a fan of it. The board could be so much cooler, but it's cool enough. So I'm going to give it a B tier. Alright, up next we got the Black Snowboard of Death. This is instant trash tier. This graphic just seems lazy and boring to me. I did not like it. It does not feel like a CAPITA board. So, instant trash. Alright, up next we're looking at the graphic for the Kazu. I feel like it could be cool if they just did a little more. I'm not exactly sure what that would be. Maybe if you could like take some blood splatters and like do some sort of designs up here with them, or like with the bird, give them some red accents, or like a tooth. I don't know exactly what you would want to do on this board, but already that looks cooler. I think you just need some red, honestly, Capita. That board would be sick if there was a little bit of red. It's a cool enough of a graphic. I'm gonna give it a nice B tier. Alright guys, next we got the Capita Mercury. This thing is without a doubt the best board in the entire lineup this year. So much so that I'm going to give this thing a new tier. We had Shuan White, but now we're going to go for the Shiver Me Timbers. This is the best of the best boards. So it's probably going to be the only board that makes it up there, but boy does it deserve it. Alright, next we got the Navigator. This thing is terrible. I don't like the blues on it. It's not vibrant at all. It looks like spilled paint. That's trash tier. Alright, we got the Spring Break Powder Twin. You know, it's whatever. It just looks like abstract art made of pastel paint. It's not the coolest. It's not the worst. I'm not a big fan of these Spring Break graphics for this year, so I'm going to give this thing an easy C tier. Alright, next we got their Spring Break Resort Twin. Like I just said, the Spring Break boards are garbo this year. I don't like this design at all. This is instant trash tier. Do not like at all. Me no likey. Alright, here we go with the Stairmaster. I don't know why it's even called the Stairmaster. Don't like the name. Don't like the graphic. Looks kind of like some Minecraft type beat. Not a big fan of that. I'm going to throw this thing right in trash tier as well. Alright, and finally the Spring Break line of boards redeems themselves with the Slush Slasher. Big fan of the graphic, and I like the side cut being pink up here. I'm never going to see one of these being in the Midwest. It's a cool graphic. Cotton Candy Machine, big fan of it. I'm going to throw this bad boy in A tier. Alright guys, that's all the boards for this coming year's Capita lineup. The graphics are pretty mid this year. You got a couple standouts, like obviously the Mercury is just insane. Huge fan of that. The Equalizer's chill. Really cool women's board. I like the pastel vibe with the tie-dye. Then you got the Ultra Fear. That thing is sick too. But everything else was a little underwhelming. I think 2025 was definitely a better year than 2026 will be as far as graphics go. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd like to hear if you guys would put any of these higher, if you'd put them lower, what your favorite graphic is. So leave a comment and let me know. Thanks for watching, guys.